unmistakably Canadian.
It's the music that raised you.
The artists raising the bar.
Hi, this is Brian Adams.
Hey, my name's Brett Emmons. I'm from the Glorious Sons.
Hi, I'm Nelly Furtado.
Made in Canada. The station that champions Canadian music.
Loud, proud, and all yours.
No passports required. Just press play.
Tap into Made in Canada now on iHeartRadio.ca
or the free iHeartRadio app.
This Week in Gaming with Naomi Kyle.
Hello there, I'm Naomi Kyle, and welcome back to This Week in Gaming. This week we're catching up on the end of the video game actors strike. Nintendo addresses the high price of the Switch 2, and something fishy is going on with the development of Subnautica 2. We've got all of this week's gaming news, so let's hop right in. Ubisoft has made a few decisions over the years that have gone to spark outrage amongst gamers by selling their players private information and shutting down entire games. Now they've doubled down by updating their end user license agreement, or EULA, to reflect an ideology that, if you asked me, is downright anti-consumer. It reads in legalese, Ubisoft may modify the product for any reason or without any specific reason at any time and at its entire discretion. In particular, for technical reasons such as updates, you and Ubisoft or its licensors may terminate this EULA at any time for any reason. This EULA will terminate automatically if you fail to comply with any of the terms and conditions. Upon termination for any reason, you must immediately uninstall the product and destroy all copies of the product in your possession. Once again, we are faced with the recurring question when it comes to digital ownership: do we truly own the games we buy? In today's industry, it seems like more and more the answer to that question is no. Players are already pushing back with the Stop Killing Games initiative, amongst others. More will likely pop up. We'll have more on this discussion with our guest today, so stay tuned. During an annual shareholders meeting, Nintendo board members answered questions from concerned investors during a Q&A session, thus adding some much-needed insight into what Nintendo is thinking regarding the Switch 2 and the company's future. One investor voiced their concern that since the Nintendo Switch 2 has a higher price, they are worried that young children will be unable to engage with the Switch 2. Nintendo President Shuntaro Furukawa responded to the question saying that, "We believe the price of the Nintendo Switch 2 is appropriate for the gaming experience it offers. It is true that the Nintendo Switch 2 has a higher price point than our past gaming systems. We are creating various opportunities outside of our gaming systems for young children to engage with Nintendo characters and game worlds, with one of the ultimate goals being that they will eventually play on our gaming systems. We are closely monitoring to what degree the price of the system might become a barrier." One of the opportunities outside of gaming that Nintendo is putting more stock into is movie production. During the meeting, Shigeru Miyamoto added that, "I am co-producing an animated film based on the world of Super Mario Bros. With Chris Meledandri, the founder and CEO of Illumination Studios. We are confident that the new movie will be an entertaining film, so we have announced its theatrical release for spring of 2026. A new animated film set in the world of Super Mario Bros.? It doesn't sound like this will be a sequel to the Super Mario Bros. Movie, so who do you think will be the lead protagonist? Will it be Luigi's time in the limelight? Or maybe Donkey Kong, now that he has a new game coming out? What do you think? Let me know your thoughts and tag me on social at Naomi Kyle. Rough seas are ahead for Krafton, the publisher of the Subnautica games. Last week, Krafton announced that Charlie Cleveland, Max McGuire, and Ted Gill were all leaving the development studio, Unknown Worlds, and would no longer be working on the game's sequel, Subnautica 2. Officially, Krafton released a statement saying that the absence of core leadership resulted in repeated confusion in direction and significant delays in the overall project schedule. We are deeply disappointed by the former leadership's conduct, and above all, we feel a profound sense of betrayal by their failure to honor the trust placed in them by our fans. However, new evidence suggests that Charlie, Max, and Ted left after Krafton decided to delay the launch of Subnautica 2 to 2026, despite the game being ready for early access in 2024. The men allege that the delay is part of an elaborate scheme made by Krafton to sabotage the development team at Unknown Worlds, and wormed their way out of paying a $250 million bonus that they had promised to share with all the members of the staff if they could hit certain revenue targets by the end of 2025. Charlie Cleveland has now filed for a lawsuit against Krafton for breach of contract and reaffirms that Subnautica 2 is ready for early access despite the delay. We will see how this unfolds and keep you posted. Members of the American Union, SAG-AFTRA, have confirmed the 2025 Interactive Media Agreement in a landslide vote, where 95% of members approved the agreement, thus ending the 11th month-long video game actors strike. The new contract provides members of SAG protections against the advancement of AI, and companies must now have the actor's consent and disclose the full use of an actor's AI digital replica. I'm so proud of the members of my union for banding together and striking against these large companies to earn protections that are quite simply a necessity. Now, let's get back to work and prove that no matter how advanced AI gets, nothing can ever replace the real thing.
Quest complete.
So that's the news for this week. It's now time to chat with our guest. Cameron Hawkins joins us to chat about Ubisoft's new user agreement backlash. Is gaming getting too expensive? And our thoughts on the Subnautica 2 controversy.
Select game mode. Multiplayer.
All right, we are back this week in gaming. Thank you so much for joining us. And Cameron Hawkins is joining us today. How are you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. We have some drama-filled news this week, but I want to get this quick one about Ubisoft out of the way because, it's an overarching theme that we're seeing in the gaming industry. Very much so the battle between the devs and gamers who feel like they're being overcharged or they're being told that they can buy games, but they don't really own them if they buy them. Because Ubisoft's user agreement story, I'm sure you read about it. In your opinion, is it anti-consumer? Is it too extreme for Ubisoft to be doing this? Or is this kind of a non-issue?
It's a little bit of everything because part of it is definitely just them trying to cover their bases from a legal standpoint. But I also think that their ability to do what they want to do with this user agreement being like, hey, if this thing ends and you're mad about it, you need to destroy your
right.
game, your product.
Yeah.
And it's just like that's crazy. And that shouldn't be legal. But seemingly it is. I hope that's something that gets challenged. But also, how are you going to incorporate that? How are you going to make it that people do that? You can't. Yeah. So I think at the end of the day, it is just made to cover their bases from a legal standpoint. I don't think they really care at the end of the day that you are destroying or getting rid of a physical copy of a game that no longer is supported by Ubisoft, like the servers are shut down or something like that. I don't think that they're trying to actually make you do that, but just more so to cover their own bases.
Yeah, it's a legal thing and it's a, liability thing maybe. But what are your thoughts about Ubisoft in general? This story came out, of course, a lot of folks are maybe upset or there goes Ubisoft, What are your thoughts about where Ubisoft is at right now? Public opinion-wise, reputation-wise?
I think from a publicity standpoint, they've started to definitely decline, sadly, because I really do love a lot of what Ubisoft made in the past. I think even as recent as Assassin's Creed Valhalla, I thought that game was really, really great. I haven't played Mirage or Shadows yet, but I've up to Valhalla, I've played every Assassin's Creed. I love that series. They've done really cool collaborations Mario and Rabbids, which should not work at all, but it totally does.
Totally does.
It's really, really great. But then they're just making these really, really massive games with a abundance of different developers. And then they probably don't perform to their expectations because they just have put so much money into a single title. And Assassin's Creed carries a lot of weight, but it's not like GTA, right? Where they can put an absurd amount of money to a game and they know that they're going to make their money back. And so they've just been making a lot of really odd choices. And there's been a lot of talk that they're eventually going to get acquired, which I think, if we talked 5 years ago, we would think that would be just the most crazy statement. If someone said came from the future and be like, oh yeah, Ubisoft gets bought out by this company in 2025, 2026, we'd be like, you're lying. Like, there's no way. But now that's where things kind of fall, and it's a little scary just because we're seeing so many companies buy out other companies, both in the gaming space and also in the games media space. So
it is sad. And as a Montrealer, someone who, Ubisoft, so that's kind of like their second home. They have a lot of studios there. And growing up, being a fan, very, very disappointing to see. And I just hope they can, they have to keep doing as much positive, in good faith kind of things to regain our appreciation and to regain our love for them. But we'll see how this shakes out. I do want to touch a little bit more on the Stop Killing Games movement and this, like, what are you really buying? That whole question. But quickly, let's go to Games Out this week, and we'll be right back with Cameron to talk some more about it.
Games Out this week.
Starting on July 15th, Eden Zero explores the stars across all platforms. On July 16th, Ink Reverie and Medievally Battle Simulator team up on PC. Then on July 17th, Donkey Kong Bonanza barrels exclusively onto the Nintendo Switch 2. The Drifter Point and Clicks onto PC. Golden Tea Classics and The Wandering Village live together in harmony on all platforms. Then on July 18th, Shadow Labyrinth Waka Wakas onto PS5, PC, Nintendo Switch 1 and 2, and Xbox Series X and S. Forgotten 23 races against the clock exclusively on PC. And on July 21st, Logic Bombs and The King is Watching keep a watchful eye on PC. The Epic Game Store is offering one massive game for free this week. Sid Meier's Civilization 6 Platinum Edition will be available for download from July 17th until the 24th.
Quest accepted.
All right, we're back. So, Ubisoft doing some stuff. It brings up the question again, this theme that we see in the gaming industry of, do we actually own the games that we buy? Now, the Stop Killing Games movement is something that's been getting a lot of traction. We'll see how that ends. It's currently happening. This is all in the UK, of course. But what are we seeing right now? We're seeing a lot of backlash. Is there a way for people in the games industry, is there a way for them to figure out a way where games can stay alive, where the things that we buy actually do stay with us in some capacity and still exist after so much amount of time?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've been seeing it for a while now. It's just starting to become more popular where we have these companies like Limited Run Games, and more notably in the UK, Lost and Cold has just started implementing these physical versions of games that didn't initially get a physical edition, and they're able to preserve those games that way. I'm a big physical game collector, and I think it's incredibly important. And I think that this digital future that we're being kind of overloomed by,
forced into,
is really upsetting, because I think it's one of those things where we're at this kind of point in, I guess capitalism, where these companies are a lot more protective over like the things that they create, and they feel like that if they give too much freedom to their consumers, that freedom is going to be abused. Mm-hmm. And in some instances that happens, right? Like people pirate games, and people like do things that are illegal, right?
Right.
But I don't think that what we see from like Ubisoft and like what we are starting to see with Nintendo, which is really crazy to think considering how big they have been regarding game preservation over the years, or like over their history, that they're starting to like shift that way as well. It's unfortunate, and I don't really know what the solution is outside of like, supporting these companies that are giving opportunities for these games to be preserved. Like we've seen Sega has a really good relationship with Limited Run. So like there's certain versions, like platforms for certain games or like collector's editions that Sega just has Limited Run do now. And that's like Limited Run has its issues as a company and like certain decisions that they make. But, they're doing the work that ultimately matters in the long run. And I think if we get more companies like that, maybe it won't be as tough of a pill to swallow moving forward.
Yeah. And I think we are, as a community, we are voicing our opinions and making it pretty clear where we stand. I think there's enough pushback too, where now, companies like Sega and stuff are saying, no, this is important to us. Vote with your dollar and come to us for the games and for the fandom and all that. So it's very interesting to watch how this is all unfolding. And speaking of capitalism and money, I want to talk about the Switch 2 because there's a story that came out this week, and the story is interesting, and we touched on it during the news, but it raises the question where Nintendo's even looking at this. Is the Switch 2 pricing people out? Is it too expensive? And in your opinion, why or why not is it?
I think nowadays $450 is a lot for a console. I think that
US, of course, for Canadian listeners, it's 600. Yeah.
Yeah, $450 USD is a lot for a console. I'm sure like the Canadian conversion is also even more expensive. It's tough because do I think it's worth the $450? I would say yes, personally. I think that the Switch 2, I know a lot of people say it's just a bigger and better Switch 2. There are certain very personal things about it for me that I really enjoy. I didn't really play the Switch in handheld mode. I was one of those rare docked users most of the time.
Interesting.
But when I felt the Switch 2 in my hands for the first time, I'm like, oh, I see myself using this a lot more in handheld mode because I like the way it feels in my hands more. It's just such a small thing that made such a big difference for me. And just with certain a lot of Switch 1 games that whether they be first or third party exclusive that didn't run super well initially on the Switch, that just got these native buffs, updates, not even from a official standpoint that we see with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, which that was a game that I waited for the update for, and I never played the original because it came out in such a bad state.
Right.
And now I'm this is incredible. I love this game. I'm glad I never played it. I don't have that that doesn't have that stain on my mind. So there's a lot of things I think justify the $450, but in the context of the world and these potential Trump tariffs that might come into play that might raise the price even more.
Yeah.
And just how expensive it is to just live in specifically America, $450 is a lot. I totally understand if people are especially for families that's just hey, we can't afford this because it's too much, and we have I don't know how people have kids. You know what I mean? I'm a 31-year-old man, and I'm how do y'all have children?
How can you afford this?
And so on top of that, just being able to pay a $450 console, not including any potential additional accessories, right?
That's right.
That's a big...
it's a big ask.
That's a big ask, yeah.
So I wonder, we'll see if game devs, need to adjust a little bit or consider if raising the price is people are just not buying games. Because the big thing, too, that came out this week, and I don't talk about it in the show, at the start of the show, but 18 to 24-year-olds in general aren't buying games as much, they found. This is a new stat that came out. So it raises the question, do game devs need to adjust their pricing to accommodate, to get more people to play games and to spend on games? So we'll have to see how this all plays out. I want to get to this one big story before we finish here, because it's actively happening as we're talking about it. So Subnautica 2, first of all, Subnautica 1, great game, super successful, people loved it. The devs and their publisher are having a battle right now. We try to detail it out in today's show, but I want to get your take on this controversy, because it seems like, at least from my perspective, that it's just another situation where a corporation is taking advantage of a developer. What do you think? What do you think of this controversy?
Yeah, I agree with you completely. So Krafton, apparently in a purchase agreement that Bloomberg reviewed, there was supposed to be a $250 million bonus if the team at Unknown Worlds released the game by 2025 for seemingly, we don't know for certain, but seemingly for no real reason that carries weight. They're like, oh no, it can't come out this year. We need to push it to 2026. It's not ready to come out. Right. And that led to the lead devs to just leave the team because they think that they're being screwed over $250 million to the point where they're now suing them. So yeah, I mean, from that perspective, obviously, we don't know all the details.
We don't know each side, right? Because we're hearing from the publisher a completely different side of the story.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's very interesting. I wonder, I tend to side towards the devs. What about you? I think for me, the devs seem like they were ready to ship this game. It was totally, it was on track to make the revenue it needed to make. It was ready in 2024 for early access. So, I mean, The devs are like, this is ready. And the publishers are saying, no, it's not ready. Whether their reasoning is right or wrong, maybe that'll come up in this lawsuit. But what a crazy thing to have happen to such a great game, too. I hope it doesn't mess up the launch of this game or anything.
I mean, for the people that care about the behind the scenes of the video game industry and these things, like, most people will probably be like, oh yeah, like this game's ready. We believe the devs, but then there's also the idea of like, oh, should we support the game because we're just going to give money to Crafton?
Right.
And so it's just like, how do you juggle that? But then for the, the mainstream people that don't really follow this stuff, but see Subnautica 2 and really like Subnautica 1, they're going to be like, oh crap, well, time to buy that. So
that's right.
It's one of those tough things where when you get into these publisher and dev relationships where it's just like, oh man, like I really want to support this thing for this like lower tentpole group or person. But if I do that, I'm also going to support the rich, corporate overlords. So yeah, it's tough.
It's a tough one. It's very messy. It's hard to break down. It's very much another example of corporate greed in play right now. It's happening so much. It is very disappointing to see. But we'll keep you guys posted on how this all shakes out. And thank you so much, Cameron, for hitting up the show one more time. It's been great to have you. I always love your insight. What are you up to lately? Are you playing anything fun?
Yeah, I'm playing a few things. I'm a big JRPG guy. I have just quick plug, I have a JRPG podcast called Party Chat, a JRPG podcast, where, if you are someone that is either really into JRPGs or wants to like kind of dip your feet in, we try to make it welcoming for all audiences in that sense. And I've been playing Legend of Dragoon for the first time. The PS1 era of JRPGs very much not under my wheelhouse, so I'm trying to get educated and learn a bit more about that, which is definitely an IP I would love Sony to bring back. Like Sony, bring back Legend of Dragoon.
If you're listening.
Yes, exactly. And I've also been playing the Lunar remaster that came out earlier this year. So that's been really, really great as well. That's initially it was a Sega game, but it's more known for PlayStation 1 as well. So I've been playing a lot of PS1 JRPGs recently.
Fun. Awesome. Well, have fun playing those games this week. Thanks for joining the show as well, and I hope you'll come back.
Absolutely, anytime.
Cameron Hawkins is a freelance writer and host featured on IGN and Kind of Funny. You can follow him on Instagram at CamFinalMix.
Flawless victory! Continue!
And that's This Week in Gaming. I'm your host, Naomi Kyle, and I had the best time this week bringing you all the latest in games. Thank you so much for listening, and thanks to my co-writer, Josh Seaman, for helping put the show together every week. Don't forget to let me know what you're playing and what you think of these stories by tagging me at Naomi Kyle on social. From all of us here at This Week in Gaming, we wish you a fun-filled week, and we'll see you again same time, same place. Thanks for listening.
This Week in Gaming is an iHeartRadio Canada podcast. Subscribe to this podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts. Download the iHeartRadio app for more podcasts just like these.